Now on CoastTV News.
Boardwalk building battle. After plans received initial approval earlier this month, the next step for the Belhaven Hotel project in Rehoboth Beach takes place today.
Limiting local rule.
It's just a little unreasonable what Sussex County has done.
That's the opinion of the sponsor of the bill that limits local Delaware government's ability to regulate marijuana businesses. How close to becoming law is this legislation?
Addressing parking accessibility. We look at the ordinance dealing with that issue in Lewis.
We're going from extremely hot to just hot today with a heat advisory, and it feels like temperatures in the triple digits. A cooler Friday and then a warmer weekend with some showers and storms. Details coming up.
This is CoastTV News Today.
Yeah, we're now in our 6 o'clock hour. Good morning, I'm Matt Pensick.
And good morning, I'm Elisa Weber. It is Thursday, June 26th, 2025.
Get those weekend plans ready.
Yes.
It's almost here. Very exciting.
Very exciting. Or if you're having a relaxing weekend this weekend, it's okay, rest up. Because next week's weekend's July 4th weekend.
Yeah, you might want to just get that extra bit of rest in for
Right.
all the activities planned for the Independence Day holiday. Bob, that's next week. Let's take a look at, dare I say cooler? No.
Kind
no,
of,
no,
not
no.
really.
Well, you know, it's like degrees of heat. You have extreme, miserable, and then you have just hot and muggy, and that's where we're going to fall today. So no more code reds for a while, just kind of hot as we're looking at temperatures starting out very warm again into the mid to upper 70s. Millsboro 76, Salisbury 74, Lewis 78, Rehoboth 79, and dew point temperatures still above 70, so still muggy. That's really not going to change. The winds are light at the present time, and we do have a heat advisory away from the coast, Sussex County and back into Comical County, Dorchester, Somerset, and Worcester counties as well. And then for the eastern shore, you also have a heat advisory. It feels like temperatures this afternoon into the triple digits. We're seeing clear skies, but we have changes on the way. There's a front to the north. That heat dome is beginning to collapse and weaken, and with that front already triggering some showers around the New York area, that front drops in and cools us off with some storms this afternoon, but it's quickly getting hot this morning, mid to upper 80s by mid-morning, and then by noon we're into the low 90s. Then the storms flare up, heavy rain, maybe damaging winds, and it will cool us off, but still very muggy as we go into the afternoon hours. And then ahead of the storms, maybe it's feeling as hot as 109, so maybe get on the ferry near the water or in the water. Anywhere near the water is great today. We're looking at 80s, and then watch for that chance of storms into the afternoon hours. If the skies get dark, make sure you find some shelter.
Thank you, Bob. Our top story this hour, the next step in the construction of a hotel right on the boardwalk in Rehoboth Beach. This afternoon, a public hearing is taking place for the Belhaven project. Earlier this month, the Planning Commission voted 5-3 to move the hotel forward to this stage. Plans for the Belhaven call for 105 rooms, 78 garage spaces, and 29 parking lot spaces, and today's public hearing takes place at 1:30 at Rehoboth Beach's City Hall.
And that's not the only project that will be at that hearing in Rehoboth Beach. There's also a review of a subdivision off of Coastal Highway. It is called Oceanside Reserve. Here's that area developers are looking at. It is in the Rehoboth Beach Plaza in the Forgotten Mile. And if you've driven in that area, you know there are several empty storefronts. The subdivision calls for the nearly 8-acre lot to turn into a community of 31 single-family homes. And we will have more on both of these projects later on CoastTV News Today.
In a last-minute push on Delaware marijuana zoning legislation, the House passed Senate Bill 75. It limits the restrictions that counties can impose on marijuana businesses, and it also makes it easier for medical dispensaries to sell recreationally.
And people opposing the bill have called it government overreach. Some lawmakers, like Republican Representative Brian Shoup, say this is majority party overreach. But Democratic Senator Trey Pardee says Sussex County has essentially made it illegal to open a shop, so the state needs to intervene.
The one-party rule, no matter what party it is, I think you get away from listening to local voices just by the nature of that happening.
You know, once the recreational cannabis stores are open, you're going to have less than 40 across the entire state. So it's just a little unreasonable what Sussex County has done, and again, they've made it illegal.
And Senate Bill 75 will now head to Governor Matt Meyer's desk for approval.
A chance to save a life. Ocean View Police and Delaware's Division of Substance Abuse and Mental Health are hosting a free Narcan training event today. Organizers say participants will learn how to use Narcan. It's a medication that reverses opioid overdoses, and everyone who completes the short training could receive a free opioid rescue kit. This event also includes free pizza and refreshments. There's an incentive. It's happening from noon to 1 p.m. at the Ocean View Police Department.
A child is believed to have led police on one of two multi-county car chases out of Dover on Friday. Delaware State Police say a 10-year-old was behind the wheel of one pursuit through Kent and Sussex counties. The boy, a 13-year-old girl, and 32-year-old Jonathan Bennett were eventually taken into custody. Bennett is being held on an $11,000 bond. The children have been released back to their guardians.
Happening today in Bethany Beach, motorized ways and moving around the town. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Committee is specifically looking at e-bikes and scooters. They're getting an update from task teams. There's also strategies for safer shared paths for bikes and pedestrians. This is all scheduled for 10 a.m.
Also happening today, Lewis City leaders are reviewing a new way to manage residential parking. City Council will discuss a pilot program that would reserve parking spaces for people with mobility challenges. The draft plan outlines a mobility-based system allowing residents to apply for designated spaces aimed at improving accessibility. Today's council meeting will take place at 10 a.m.
New this morning, an all-way stop coming to a Seaford intersection. Here's the location that we're talking about on your screen. Bridgeville Highway and Virginia Avenue and Woodland Mills Drive. DelDOT says this change takes effect June 30th. The change follows recent sidewalk, curb, and drainage upgrades.
We are now taking a live look at Washington, D.C. President Trump is back at the White House this morning with news that the U.S. will meet with Iran next week.
Yeah, the president is pushing back on questions about the success of the strike of Iranian nuclear facilities, with the CIA backing the claim that Iran's program was severely damaged.
And NBC's Alice Barr shows us how today lawmakers will have an opportunity to ask questions at a briefing from White House officials.
President Trump back in Washington after the NATO summit, looking to extend a diplomatic win with the Israel-Iran ceasefire into talks with Iran.
We're going to talk to them next week with Iran. We may sign an agreement. I don't know.
The president downplaying the necessity of signing a deal, insisting U.S. airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites already accomplish the goal of preventing Iran from developing a nuclear weapon.
I said Iran will not have nuclear. Well, we blew it up. It's blown up to kingdom come.
He's pushing back forcefully on a preliminary assessment by the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency estimating Iran's nuclear program was delayed by a matter of months.
They presented a report that wasn't finished.
Yes.
They didn't see it. All they can do is take a guess.
Defense Secretary Hegseth said the agency had low confidence in its initial assessment. President Trump citing Israeli intelligence that the strikes set Iran's nuclear capabilities back by many years and rendered the critical underground Fordo site inoperable. Iran also acknowledging its nuclear installations were badly damaged. And the CIA director now says credible intelligence indicates Iran's nuclear program was severely damaged and would take years to rebuild. Two sources say he is among the top Trump officials set to brief senators today who have been pressing for answers.
Do we know whether the uranium was there? Do we know whether the centrifuges were there? What is the state of those facilities?
House members due to be briefed tomorrow. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And we're just getting started in this hour of CoastTV News today.
Yeah, coming up, Independence Day across Delmarva. We have some of the places to celebrate the holiday, including where to see fireworks.
Also, energy use is extremely important during the extreme heat, and we'll show you how the weather has exacerbated repair services.
But first, promoting crosswalk safety with chickens. I did say that, with chickens. How the Fenwick Island Police are getting drivers' attention. All that and more when CoastTV News Today continues.
Why did the chicken cross the road? Well, according to the Fenwick Police, it is to get people to hit the brakes for pedestrians. And that's no laughing matter. CoastTV News reporter Kevin Zappe shows us in this week's Coastal Connections how a funny costume is promoting safety.
The Fenwick Island Police Department does everything they can to keep the community safe, whether that's patrolling the streets in their car, watching over the beach, or wearing a chicken costume.
We at the Fenwick Island Police Department are serious about crosswalk safety.
To spread awareness to keeping your eyes on the road and pressing the crosswalk button, Fenwick Island Police Chief Michael Morrissey took it upon himself to hop in the chicken suit and cross the road.
We're kind of trying to use a little humor to get the message across that don't play chicken in the crosswalks, either as the driver of a vehicle or a pedestrian crossing.
With some cars still not following the crosswalk rules, the police department brought backup, a familiar police figure on TV. They walked across the street together in hopes of sending a message to stop for pedestrians, especially as the busy season gets underway.
Double and triple our crossings, so you're going to see more people out crossing the highway trying to enjoy our beaches and our bays.
Although Chase may be waving goodbye to all the cars in town, that's not the last you'll see of Chief Morrissey and the police department suiting up for duty.
Now, the Fenwick Island Police Department is planning to do this again, but next time they're going to be wearing the Grinch and Santa costumes for Christmas in July. I'm Kevin Zappe in Fenwick Island, Coast TV News.
Time is 6:15, and you are looking live on this Thursday morning at the heart of Comical County, and that's Salisbury. And Bob, what a hot stretch of conditions we had. 100 degrees in June.
Boy, that was something else. And not only 100 one day in Georgetown, but back-to-back days, Matt. And that hadn't happened since 2019, the one day in the 100. So let's check it out. Yeah, Tuesday we hit 100, shattering the previous record of 97 back in 2010. And then yesterday it hit 101 in Georgetown. I had 100 in Millsboro, but it was 101 there, shattering the previous record of 96 in 1952. Previous to that, July 21st, 2019, that was the last time we saw 100 degrees. And it's been a hot stretch. We began last weekend in the low 90s, 99 Monday, and then into the 100s Tuesday and Wednesday. But we back off that extreme heat to just normal heat now as we go through today. Heat advisory, Sussex County, Georgetown, Seaford, Gumboro, back through Millsboro. But Ocean View up to Lewis, you are not in this because it's going to be a little cooler at the beaches, and so will Ocean City. But a heat advisory from Newark to Colburn and Salisbury, and also the Eastern Shore through this evening feels like temperatures up to about 107. So it's going to be hot again, but just not that extreme heat like we saw the last few days. Out the door, similar to the last few mornings, mid to upper 70s, and still very muggy with dew points above 70, and basically no wind right now. As we're looking at quiet conditions, we're seeing some blips of green around Salisbury. That's not rain, but we are seeing showers and storms around Long Island into the New York area, as there is a stationary front starting to sag to the south, and that's starting to suppress this heat dome. This heat dome is beginning to weaken, and it's going to shrivel up and die. And we like to see that. I hate to be so blunt about it, but we're going to be seeing this intense heat backing off as this front moves in. Here's Futurecast this morning, quickly warming into the mid-80s by 9 a.m. By noon, we're into the low to mid-90s, and that very well could be the max for the day as showers and storms start to pop up in the afternoon. Maybe very heavy rain and damaging wind possible with some of these cells into the afternoon, so keep that in mind. And that will cool us back into the 70s and 80s, but still very muggy through the evening hours as we dry out through the overnight, but still mild and muggy into Friday morning. We see a backdoor cold front moving in, and that's going to shift our winds from the ocean out of the east-northeast, and temperatures in the 70s pretty much all day. Maybe an isolated shower or storm, but the big news here is we barely get to 80 in a lot of places as we go into your Friday, maybe well inland. So this is going to be welcome relief, but it's not going to last long because then it gets pretty warm again as we go into the weekend. Watch for the threat for severe weather this afternoon, maybe some damaging winds. It's a low chance, but there is a chance, and it's still very muggy. We're not going to see any dry air, very humid to miserable, but at least we do cool off a little bit on Friday. And then into the weekend, mainly afternoon showers and storms, and do watch out for heavy rain and maybe gusty winds for your weekend plans. Today, around 93 in Seaford and Laurel, but 82 in Rehoboth with those afternoon storms. Easton 93, Vienna 94, Salisbury 93, with Chincoteague 91, and 89 in Ocean Ocean City. Here's your Paul Davis 7-day forecast. Lower 90s with storms later today, and then Friday, the coolest day of the next 7, 80 with afternoon showers and storms, and the same for the weekend with a high of 90 on Saturday, Sunday 88. Watch for heavy rain and gusty winds, and then more storms into early next week with upper 80s and lower 90s. Drying out Wednesday, I should say, 88, partly cloudy. Then Friday, the 4th, right now is looking dry and warm. More on that coming up a little bit later on.
Yeah, we're all trying to keep cool with these hot temperatures. A big part of keeping cool is having a good air conditioner. And with many of our ACs cranking all day long, that also means cranking up the chance of having a problem. It's kept HVAC repair crews busy, and we caught up with Ben Carter. He's from Real HVAC, and he says they've been flooded with repair jobs.
It's crazy right now. Us and every other company in town is probably going just a little bit crazy trying to get out to you and make sure that you and your family are cool.
Carter says regular maintenance and ensuring filters are clean, that will help keep the systems from breaking down. This does bring us to our CoastTV poll. We want to know, do you change how you use electricity during heat waves?
And so far, 45% of viewers say no change, 42% shift usage times, 11% use less AC, and 2% try but forget. We also have a comment from Sheila in Rehoboth Beach who says, I learned many years ago to close the blinds, curtains, clean HVAC filters, use major appliances during off-peak hours, and keep HVAC at a medium level when not occupied. That is all good advice, and if you haven't voted yet, you can still do so at coasttv.com or over on our mobile app. Up next on Coast TV News today, Independence Day across Delmarva. We'll tell you what communities have already announced details and how you can attend. Don't go anywhere. New in Millsboro, get ready for fireworks, food, and fun. This weekend, the Greater Millsboro Chamber of Commerce is hosting its annual Stars and Stripes celebration on June 28th from 6 to 9:30 at the Millsboro Little League Fields. Organizers say the event will have free food, food trucks, vendors, a DJ, and fireworks to cap off the night, and the rain date for this event is June 29th.
Ocean City announcing their big plans to celebrate the Independence Day holiday. According to the town, there are 2 locations to view fireworks. One is at the Caroline Street Stage, another is uptown at Northside Park. The event starts at 8 p.m. with music and then skylights up at 9:30 p.m. People attending can catch the beach bus.
Parking problems are on the agenda in Fenwick Island. Town leaders are looking at ways to let businesses share spots between their lots. The proposal would allow businesses to share spots for employees. Businesses would enter a formal agreement and submit that request through the town. Some business owners say they think the idea would free up more parking for customers. Others say this should only be a first step.
Shared parking with employees has gotten some traction and is a help. But the town has got to go farther and figure out something to help with overflow customer parking.
Fenwick Island's mayor says the proposal will be up for a second vote at this Friday's council meeting. She says the first vote passed through the council. And today's another day where I think that sand is going to be very painful if you step on it. Just a little painful.
Also, Bob, I think the afternoon is going to be challenging. You're tracking the possibility of some rain.
The clouds would be nice. Yeah.
I think the sand is less hot in the afternoon with more clouds and maybe storm chances, but still wear some flip-flops because, that sand's going to be hot. Chickadee and Assateague, you're warming into the 80s. I think we do have a chance of some spotty afternoon showers and storms, maybe some heavy rain and gusty winds. The UV index is extreme. Rip current threat low. Into the mid 80s for Ocean City, upper 80s for Fenwick Island. And then on the bay side, 91 today with storms in Cambridge, down to 80 tomorrow. Still a little stormy, then back to 90 on Saturday. And similar conditions for Crisfield as well. A little break from that heat as we go into Friday, and then it's back for the weekend. Much more in your forecast coming up in the next half hour.
After the break on Coast TV News today, federal decisions impact Delaware hospitals, the potential consequences of a proposed bill in Washington, according to a new report.
Also, Bellhaven back on agenda. The project getting a public hearing today with mixed opinions from people living in Rehoboth Beach.
And overreach opposition, that's what some Delaware lawmakers say they are voicing after a marijuana bill makes its way to Matt Meyer's desk. Coast TV News today. We'll be right back.
Now on Coast TV News.
Beachfront blueprint battle.
I think that'd be really awesome.
The momentum for the Bellhaven Hotel project in Rehoboth Beach and the next step taking place today.
Council change coming. The new way people living in Selbyville will have representation in its local government.
Health of hospitals. We look at the economic impact and new challenges for hospitals in Delaware.
We're going from extremely hot to just hot today with a heat advisory and feels like temperatures in the triple digits. A cooler Friday and then a warmer weekend with some showers and storms. Details coming up.
This is Coast TV News Today.
June 26, 2025. Good morning, everybody. I'm Matt Pensick. Good morning, Elisa.
Good morning, Matt. Good morning. I'm Elisa Weber. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, time is 6:28. We have a little something that I affectionately refer to as Friday Eve.
It is Friday Eve. I'm happy it's Thursday.
I am too. It's been a long, hot week.
It has, and this week, honestly, it felt fast, but at the same time, felt like just a lot of long, hot days. And Bob, we're dealing with hot temperatures, a little bit less warm than yesterday, but definitely still something you need to prepare for.
Oh, absolutely. It's all relative, right? It's all the different degrees of heat. We've had the extreme heat the last few days. Now it's just going to be hot today with the humidity. And we're looking at temperatures in the mid to upper 70s, maybe a degree or two cooler than the last few mornings, but still it's muggy too with dew point temperatures of at least 70 degrees and really no wind to speak of. So we've gone from the extreme heat to a heat advisory. Millsboro, Delmar, Ellendale. Watch later on for triple digit feels like temperatures. You're excluded along the immediate coast, Salisbury, Colburn, Newark, and also the eastern shore under that heat advisory until 8 p.m. As we're looking at mainly clear skies, you're seeing some green showing up around Salisbury. That's not rain there. We are seeing rain and storms around the New York, Long Island area as there is a front that's starting to whittle away at this heat dome, and we could see that chance of storms into the afternoon. But ahead of that, it's getting hot. Mid to upper 90s mid-morning. By noon, we're into the low 90s, and I think that could be the highs for the day. A little cooler at the beaches. Then we start to see those showers and storms popping up this afternoon and evening. Watch for heavy rain, maybe some damaging winds, but ahead of the storms feeling like 108, 109 in places, so no joke, it's still going to be a hot day, and your car warm and humid early on for your commute, and then watch, that car could get really hot early afternoon, maybe 125, 130, but then afternoon storms do cool us off a little bit, so watch for wet roads and some ponding later on.
In a last-minute push on marijuana zoning legislation, the Delaware House passed Senate Bill 75. The bill would limit the restrictions that counties can impose on marijuana businesses. It would also make it easier for medical dispensaries to sell recreationally. The bill's sponsor has said strict zoning in Sussex County specifically has been a big roadblock for businesses, although people opposing the bill have called it government overreach.
The one-party rule, no matter what party it is, I think you get away from listening to local voices just by the nature of that happening.
You know, once the recreational cannabis stores are open, you're going to have less than 40 across the entire state. So it's just a little unreasonable what Sussex County has done, and again, they've made it illegal.
Senate Bill 75 now heads to Governor Matt Meyer's desk for approval.
New this morning, the next step in the construction of a hotel right on the boardwalk in Rehoboth Beach. This afternoon, a public hearing is taking place for the Bellhaven Hotel project. It was earlier this month the Planning Commission voted 5-3 to move the hotel forward to this stage, and local reaction is mixed when it comes to how the 4-story hotel will affect the boardwalk and beyond.
I think that would be really awesome because we need more hotels on the boardwalk. I think we only have a few of them.
I mean, the traffic is bad enough now, and the parking situation would be very bad. They wouldn't have no much parking or whatever. You know, I just don't think it would be okay.
Plans for the Bellhaven call for 105 rooms, 78 garage spaces, 29 parking lot spaces. Today's public hearing takes place at 1:30 at Rehoboth Beach's City Hall.
And that's not the only project that will be at that hearing in Rehoboth Beach. There is also a review of a subdivision off of Coastal Highway. It's called Oceanside Reserve. Here's the area developers are looking at. It's on the Rehoboth Beach Plaza. If you've driven in that area, you know there are several empty storefronts. The subdivision calls for the nearly 8-acre lot to turn into a community of 31 single-family homes.
New this morning, there's a new structure to Selbyville's government. Governor Matt Meyer signed into law these changes. Divides Selbyville into 4 election districts with nearly equal population, with one representative from each district serving on town council. Selbyville municipal elections are held each year on the first Saturday in March.
Happening today, Lewis City leaders are reviewing a new way to manage residential parking. City Council will discuss a pilot program that would reserve parking spaces for people with mobility challenges. The draft plan outlines a mobility-based system allowing residents to apply for designated spaces aimed at improving accessibility. Today's council meeting takes place this morning at 10 o'clock.
And also today, Bethany Beach taking a closer look at how people get around town. E-bikes and scooters are on the agenda at the Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Committee meeting, with an update from task teams along with strategies for safer bicycle and pedestrian shared paths.
The health of Delaware hospitals is on full display. The state's Healthcare Association released its Delaware Hospital Impact Report. It shows that hospitals are the largest private sector employer in the state. More than 10% of the state's total employment comes from hospitals, according to that report. They also add $9 billion in services. The report outlines emerging issues, which includes concerns over Medicaid cuts from the federal government.
Yeah, new overnight, those federal Medicaid cuts, they're center stage today in Washington, D.C. The White House is hosting what it calls the One Big Beautiful Event this afternoon.
And that's how the president describes his sweeping bill, which he's trying to get through Congress. Amy Kiley shows us how Democrats have less pleasant names for the legislation, and Republicans have a slim majority in the Senate.
President Donald Trump is back from the NATO summit and peddling his sweeping domestic policy bill today. He's set to push it at a White House event this afternoon. GOP leaders hope the Senate will pass the plan this week and send it back to the House.
It is going to help all boats rise, and we are so excited to get this thing over the line.
Democrats oppose the bill's cuts to Medicaid and other programs, but they can't block the legislation on their own. A few GOP objectors would tip the scales, and some Republicans say they have concerns. The Senate plan cuts Medicaid more deeply than the House version. A few Republicans say that worries them. The result is some unlikely allies who sound a bit similar.
Rural hospitals that are already struggling would be forced to shut down.
We can't close rural hospitals. That's my message.
GOP leaders are considering a rural hospital fund to reduce the blow. Another issue making for unusual bedfellows is the bill's trillions of dollars in tax breaks. Democrats say they don't want to lose money for things like health care and food stamps.
It's the red carpet for billionaires, and it's red tape for ordinary Americans.
Some Republicans say they're worried about the national debt.
I'm fiscally conservative no matter who is president, and I just can't support something that makes the deficit worse.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
We are now taking a live look at Washington, D.C. President Trump is back in Washington after participating in the NATO summit in the Netherlands. New this morning, he is announcing that the U.S. and Iranian officials plan to meet next week. The meeting is expected to focus on how to move forward following those U.S. airstrikes on Iran's nuclear enrichment sites. Trump said that he didn't know if an agreement would be signed at that meeting, saying he didn't think it was necessary.
They presented a report that wasn't finished.
Yes.
They didn't see it. All they can do is take a guess.
Do we know whether the uranium was there? Do we know whether the centrifuges were there? What is the state of those facilities?
The president has continued to claim that those airstrikes obliterated Iran's nuclear program. This as a contrary U.S. intelligence assessment that damage set the program back only by several months.
We have a lot more news to get to in this final half hour. Don't go anywhere.
Coming up, outage impacts a local library. We'll tell you how the issues could interrupt cooling on the coast.
Also, top picks in the NBA draft, what the 76ers in Washington did with their high selections last night in the first round.
And Delmarva Local Goes to Disney will tell you how simply listening to the radio is making this trip happen. Stay with us on Coast TV News Today.
6:39 on our Thursday morning as we're gearing up for another hot day. Not extreme heat, but hot. 75 in Laurel right now. Just has that look of summer, doesn't it? With mid to upper 70s out the door. Still very muggy as well, with dew point temperatures above 70. So it's going to be hot and humid, but not to the extreme like yesterday. As we have this heat dome that is starting to shrink a little bit, there are some showers along the front to the north, and that will sag to the south. And I think that will spark off some showers this afternoon. So if you are out on the golf course, so I'm putting us in the fair range. Keep an eye to the sky for storms this afternoon. Some could have gusty winds and heavy rain, but ahead of that, feels like temperatures 100 to 106 with a high of 91. So make sure you stay hydrated. And congratulations to our umbrella giveaway winner today, George Rogers from Lewis, from Paul Davis Restoration and Home Remodeling and Coast TV.
Delaware Governor Matt Meyer was in Rehoboth Beach celebrating a milestone for Sussex County Habitat for Humanity, the nonprofit dedicated to their 200th home on Wednesday. And check out the scene here. You can see part of the celebration. And congrats to the newest homeowner, Ryan, and his family.
We'd like to say congratulations to a lucky Delmarva radio listener. We gave away a trip to Walt Disney World in Florida. The lucky winner is Diana Fogg from Rehoboth Beach.
Oh my God, it was so much fun. You guys are awesome. Coast Country rocks. I listen to you guys all the time. I'm Delmarva proud, and I've lived on the Eastern Shore my whole life, so this is like a dream come true for me.
And the contest aired on 102.5 WBOC, 93.5 The Beach, Big 107.5 The Duck, and Coast Country. Congrats, Diana.
Delmarva Sports Network from the Wawa Studios.
What's going on, sports fans? Last night was draft night, where college athletes saw their dreams come true. Let's check in on our local teams. The 76ers went into the night with the 3rd overall pick, but there's been a ton of chatter. Will they take it? Will they trade it? Well, they did select 3rd overall, and it was VJ Edgecombe. After Ace Bailey was the potential 3rd overall pick, the Sixers did not want to take a chance on a player that declined a workout. They go with Edgecombe from Baylor. The wing is known for his defense and two-way potential entering the league. He led all Big 12 freshmen in scoring at 15 points per game and all freshmen in steals with 68, 3.8 steals per 100 possessions. The Sixers are guard heavy going into next season. And the Wizards made a splash 2 nights ago with NBA trades, bringing in CJ McCollum, and they look to add to that with a 6th overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft. They go with Trey Johnson from Texas. The 6'6" guard averaged just under 20 points per game, which was a season high for NCAA freshmen. In addition, he earned SEC Freshman of the Year. His scoring ability and playmaking ability will make him a good fit for the Wizards. The Wizards also had the 18th overall pick, which they traded to the Utah Jazz. In return, they got the 21st pick, which they selected Illinois forward Will Riley, in addition to 2nd-round picks that we will see tonight. That over sports. Have a great day, everybody.
And coming up tonight on DSN at 7:30, we have another episode of Into the Trenches. At 8, it's the Berlin Bathtub Races. At 10 p.m., you can catch that episode of Into the Trenches. If you missed it earlier, at 10:30, we have the final score. And on the DSN Plus app at 6, Crown Sports Center High School League girls basketball. Also Cape Henlopen High School League boys soccer. At 6:15, there's action from the Maryland Supreme Basketball League.
If you're having a rough week, you can cheer up with a weekly dose of local good news from Coast TV with personal features, fun things to do each weekend, and more. You can sign up right now for free at coasttv.com and get your weekly dose of joy directly to your inbox on Friday. And here's a look at what's coming up this afternoon on Coast Life at 4.
Hope you're staying cool out there here along coastal Delmarva, but if you tune into Coast Life at 4, we've got some more fun for you. We're also going to be talking about how to pick the right contractor when it comes to making sure that your HVAC system is running how it should.
Always important there. Plus, we're going to be hanging out with the guys from Benvenuto talking food. I can't wait to see what they bring in.
Thursday is my new favorite day of the week because of our dish of the week. And we're also going to be taking a trip to Vernon Powell to see what's in style this summer. All that fun and more is coming up today at 4 on Coast Life. We'll see you there.
It's another day you want to be on or in the water, looking so inviting right now in Ocean View. 78 degrees. We go from the extreme heat to just hot today. Watch for afternoon and evening showers and storms. A cooler Friday. Warming up this weekend. Still some more showers and storms, but not a washout. I'll have your forecast details in 2 minutes. Stay tuned.
The time is now 6:46, and we are taking a live look outside at Laurel this morning. A little bit cooler this morning than yesterday morning, Bob, when I walked outside. Not by much, though. I'm sure now I haven't been outside in 2 hours. Probably changed a lot out there. We've had a scorcher of the past couple of days here on
boy.
Delmarva.
Doesn't that camera just scream summer to you?
It does.
I mean, it really does.
That sun is bright.
That sun is bright, and it's going to be bright again today. And Elisa, the last 2 days, we've had back-to-back 100-degree readings. In fact, so here's Tuesday, 100. We broke the record of 97 in 2010. And then yesterday, we hit 101 in Georgetown, crushing the previous record of 96 back in 1952. Before then, the previous 100-degree day was July 21st of 2019. We're not going to hit 100 today, but the air quality is not that great. We're looking at moderate air quality. So if you suffer from health problems or just want to beat the heat, it's best to stay in filtered air for today. We have a heat advisory for Sussex County, Laurel to Ellendale, down 113 to Millsboro. Once again, we're looking at heat index values of at least 105. Excluding the coast, I think you're just a little cooler, but that heat advisory through Liberty Town, Salisbury, Eden, Colburn as well, and for the Eastern Shore as well. This goes until 8 p.m. for some, feels like temperatures as hot as 108. But right now, out the door, we're into the mid to upper 70s, so maybe a degree or two cooler than yesterday, but still, it's warm, it's muggy. We've got dew points above 70 degrees, and really not much in the way of wind as we're looking at mainly clear skies. We do have some changes on the way. This heat dome is beginning to weaken and collapse. We have some storms around the New York area with a stationary front, and that will suppress this heat bubble to the south as this front turns into a backdoor cold front. It cools us off into your Friday, but ahead of that, it's a big warm up through the 80s, and then I think by noon we're into the low to maybe mid 90s inland areas, and then I think as we go into the afternoon, showers and storms pop up, and that will tend to cool us off a little bit, maybe heavy rain, maybe damaging winds with these, so watch that as it cools us into the 70s and 80s, but still very muggy as we go through the evening hours. Then I think the storms will go away, and then overnight it's muggy. Then as we go into Friday morning, we're going to see the winds coming in off the ocean. So we're in the low 70s, and really much of the day it's clouds, upper 70s, maybe 80 degrees, but a nice respite from the very hot weather. But then it gets hot again as we go into the weekend, as we do have a marginal or low risk for severe weather today. I think maybe damaging winds, and make sure you have those outdoor items secured. Otherwise, it's very humid to miserable as we go through the next several days. At least we do cool it off on Friday. And then for the weekend, do watch for afternoon showers and storms. Once again, the main threat being heavy rain and maybe damaging winds, but it won't be a washout. 93 in Seaford today, but a cooler 82 in Rehoboth. Watch for the afternoon storms. 94 in Federalsburg, Cambridge 92, Salisbury 93, Pocomoke City 92. Paul Davis 7-day forecast, 80 on Friday. There's our cool down with showers and storms. And then for the weekend, 90 with storms, especially in the afternoon Saturday. The same for Sunday with upper 80s. That continues into Monday. 91 on Tuesday with storms. Dries out Wednesday, and right now the 4th of July looking dry and warm.
All right, thank you, Bob. And sticking with weather over in Lewis, the city has been dealing with reoccurring power outages this week. One location hit was the Lewis Public Library. They, of course, use the internet to keep track of incoming and outgoing rentals, but the library also serves as an unofficial cooling center for the city. Officials there say they did get lucky with the timing of yesterday's outages.
We lost power total of 3 times, like the rest of Lewis. So if it had happened earlier in the day, we definitely would have had to close and have people leave. We were able, because it was so close to closing time, it wasn't so bad, but it got very, very warm.
And the president of the Lewis BPW board, Tom Panetta, says this is a regional problem with the grid provider for the area, and people should try to conserve energy.
Happening today in Dorchester County, a new health department building officially opens its doors. Employees made the move from the Cedar Street location in Cambridge to just up the road to Ray Street. That was back in April, and they've been working there ever since. However, today is the ribbon cutting ceremony, and that takes place from noon to 1.
Home buyers may soon be able to use cryptocurrency assets to strengthen their mortgage application. That's the idea from the head of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, which oversees mortgage buying giants Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Billy Polt on social media referenced the Trump administration's plans to make the U.S. the crypto capital of the world. He said he's ordered Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to prepare to count crypto as an asset.
Southwest Airlines ready to make an effort in drawing high-spending travelers away from competitors. CEO Bob Jordan listed a few ideas in an interview with CNBC at an airport industry conference. Those include airport lounges, adding more premium seating, and longer haul international flights.
And the time is now 6:51, and we're going to check in with our coastal pet of the day.
All right, we got our today's coastal pet of the day on your screen, a very familiar face. That is Benny. As you can see, he's done with the extreme heat.
It is not dog weather.
It is not. Good news for Benny. These temperatures are about to cool down, as Bob has been indicating. As always, Benny was submitted to us by Tammy in Seaford.
Hang in there, Benny. Well, we want to see more of your pets on Delmarva. Send us photos and tell us what makes them so special. You can take a look at your screen.
Yep, scan that QR code top center, get your friends to us, and then watch weekdays from 5 to 7 a.m. to see all the pets we feature.
It is 6:54, and it's time for the things you need to know before you go. The next step in construction of a hotel right on the boardwalk in Rehoboth Beach. This afternoon, a public hearing is taking place for the Bellhaven Hotel project. Earlier this month, the Planning Commission voted 5-3 to move the hotel forward to this stage. Plans for the Bellhaven call for 105 rooms, 78 garage spaces, and 29 parking lot spaces. Today's public hearing will take place at 1:30 at the Rehoboth Beach City Hall.
In a last-minute push on Delaware marijuana zoning legislation, the House passed Senate Bill 75. It limits the restrictions that counties can impose on marijuana businesses. It also makes it easier for medical dispensaries to sell recreationally. Now that it has made its way through the General Assembly, it's up to Governor Matt Meyer to sign it into law.
Parking problems are on the agenda in Fenwick Island. Town leaders are looking at ways to let businesses share spots between their lots. The proposal would only allow businesses to share spots for employees. Businesses would enter a formal agreement and submit that request through the town. Fenwick Island's mayor says the proposal will be up for a second vote at this Friday's council meeting. She says the first vote passed through the council.
Happening today, Bethany Beach is taking a closer look at e-bike safety at its Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Committee meeting. They are set to get an update on the task teams focusing on e-bikes and scooters and on strategies for safer shared paths for bicyclists and pedestrians.
The time is now 6:56, and we are going to take another look at our forecast.
Yes, slight dip in temperatures, Bob.
It's very slight.
Keyword, yes, slight. You said it.
Yeah, the temperatures do come down, guys. You know, we're not talking about 100. We're talking about low 90s, but we still have all that humidity. So we go from the extreme level to just hot. Summer heat and humidity. We have heat advisories, so still take it slow today. But this is the last day of 90s for at least one day, as we're quickly warming up through the 80s this morning, low 90s early this afternoon. Then I think that'll be it, because then we're going to see showers and thunderstorms developing. And keep an eye to the sky for heavy rain, maybe damaging winds. There is a low chance of severe weather this afternoon, so keep an eye to the sky. If it gets dark, make sure you go inside. Before the storms, though, it's going to be hot, feeling like 105 around Salisbury, 108 in Seaford. Then it does cool down. Paul Davis 10-day forecast. Ooh, a lot nicer on Friday. High of only 80. That's going to feel wonderful, but still a chance of showers and storms. Back to 90 on Saturday. I think we're looking at afternoon storms into the weekend. 88 Sunday. A few more storms into early next week. And then leading up to the 4th, I think it's typical warmth. And I think, fingers crossed, that it's dry as we head into the 4th, but hot with a high of 90 degrees.
All right. Thank you, Bob. And thank you for joining us here for Coast TV News today.
And the Today Show is coming up next at 7 a.m.
Then we'll be back for Coast TV Midday at 11.
And for even more news and coverage you can count on, download our Coast TV News and weather apps. Have a great Thursday morning, everybody.